Yes.
Good morning and thank you so much everyone for coming. I am actually Goodluck Elei. I'm presenting from Austin, Texas. It is a privilege to be part of this presentation, and I thank Texila for creating a platform like this. What I'm going to be discussing this morning is the importance of management level employee engagement in organizations. As you all know, since the 80s, several organizations have started understanding the benefits of feedbacks from primarily from started from customers and the clientele, and then they realized that this information we need to extend it to corporate organizations employees as well. However, most employee engagement feedbacks we might have been kind of a processing over some time now have focused exclusively on the employee level and nothing is being said about the management level. This presentation will draw a kind of awareness into the value of management level employee engagement, or simply said, sometimes we block everyone into one single bucket, and that bucket speaks more or less about the employee level and little is said about the management level. A whole idea about the summaries. Again, there is complete lack of acknowledgement on the management level employee engagement, and there's always a thought process that once we are one employee, but you realize that when you look at the description of some of the things we do, considering management level employee is equally important, so that you can see if the management is very much all engaged, it will trickle down to the employees as well. So this is basically some of the things we need to look at and see exactly where we are in evaluating management level involvement. So what's the problem? As I have said before, an organization has a head, and when the leadership of an organization is slightly or less inclined to be engaged, obviously it's always a problem. Why do we need to focus on looking at the employee level when we actually have issues also with the management level getting involved? Why is this an issue? The reason why it became an issue primarily to me, having been in the corporate world here in the North American market system, we have over years adopted a process, and that process is whereby once you stay at the management level, your role in the organization is considered at will, and over time that lifespan has shortened. These days, once you get to a level, say senior manager or vice president level, you realize that especially in the publicly listed organizations, it's approximately less than 5 years, or sometimes even shortened than that. So when we look at that, realize that okay, this is important for us to take a look at and see how, as a group or as an individual, we can achieve a success at an organizational level as well as work at unit level, and then what progress needs to be recognized and on some basis celebrated, especially if the manager in charge is slightly engaged, because their lifespan is pretty much they're always on the go. If they are not making that organization their personal organization or an organization they hope to last there for a very long time. Of course, to be able to conduct this research, qualitative approach using questionnaire and data analysis were involved, and this was calculated to see the degree of involvement and the level of involvement for this management level. Again, this is very important because when I have my time in the corporate world, it became very clear every now and then, in a span of 2 years, we have had the reshufflement of a management level. Everybody is new at the top, and then they realize there is also another opportunity to create what I call the mushroom head process. So when we did this analysis, the question was what were the results? And I would like to reflect on the results and some discussions as to why this is important as well. Recognize the topic is just important, and bringing the awareness is not solving the whole world problem with this one single research. So it is very clear that management level employees are classified as engaged, not engaged, are extremely disengaged. Now, you may realize that sometimes when we paint a brush, though we may have classified them into these three broad categories, there might be a kind of crossover. It's not necessarily carved in stone that once you're engaged, you cannot be slightly not engaged. You may be engaged in some aspect, but not necessarily all in at the same time. Then also non-engaged management level workers tend to be what I may describe as, okay, they are there, but not necessarily actively there. Of course, they may be actively engaged in terms of the bottom line, which is exactly where their operations will be assessed, and their bonus is also hanging in there. But this is on a short-term basis, rather than looking for the interests of the organization on a long term. Focus or emphasis are really on quarterly assessment, and of course that level of engagement does not necessarily see through towards the end. Then another option of that there is that, okay, what about the employees who are really part of an organization? How are they really engaged? And then we realize that there are some management level who are the main concerns of the organization, because an organization without a pure management level employee fully participating or fully engaged became an issue. Here to make this research, obviously, a number of references were consulted, and here listed a number of them. So, conclusion. It is obvious that the management level workers are generally not necessarily engaged to their fullest capacity, and the reason being is the structure of corporate workforce, especially here in the North America. I understand that this may be applicable in some environments. Obviously, there are some other areas through government laws and regulations, then they're able to be a little bit not necessarily independent in terms of, or labor laws, by the way, may be another factor that may bring this a little bit together in some environment. But we are here where there is a full separation, and corporate societies are given the privilege to run the operations the way they prefer. It is very clear when you have a workforce whereby the management levels are considered at will at all levels, it became a little bit hard and tough for them to be fully engaged, because the engagement is something that your heart and your mind could be there. Like I said, you might be thinking, okay, I will show my employees how much engaged I am, when in the actual sense, when you see through the lens, in 1 or 2, 3 years, you bring in a new management level employee who will now have a whole different perspective in life, and everybody gets a little bit confused. And by the way, if the management level worker is not engaged, basically what's going to happen is that it will trickle down to the employees. So it does not necessarily matter how much emphasis are being levied on the employee level. I will bring attention to the management level employee engagement, because that's very important. Now, performance feedback is applicable in the non-engaging zone, because sometimes we think it's all about the employees, but again, as long as there is no engagement, this whole trickles back to kind of you may not be able to ascertain this is fully engaged or not fully engaged. But also, it's important for us to really recognize that we need to improve employee commitment at all levels. And this is very, very vital in any organization. Now, when I say at all level, whether at the management level or the employee level. So, the conclusion of this presentation is to emphasize the need for us to restructure, or at least think in the next future, incoming generations, how do we structure the workforce in such a way that it will be a very clear or clean platform for all levels of engagement, whether at the management level or at the employee level. Because when we see the benefit, I realized we started seeing the benefit in the 80s. We started investing in customer surveys, and from customer surveys we brought it back to the internal organization. And in the internal organization, we always focus on the employee level, and some of the decisions on some of the books are written on engagement focuses mostly on the employee level. But I am calling for us to expand it and focus especially on the management level, because they are the leaders of the organization. If an organization has a leader who is slightly or for the interest of their pocket, recognizing that their work is short-lived, that level of engagement may not necessarily produce the result we're looking for. So at the same time, if we do that and see the stark disparity between the employee level engagement and the management level engagement, I am very hopeful that it will shed the light on organizations to start doing things a little bit different, so that they can accommodate all levels of engagement. This is very, very vital. And with this call, I am hopeful that more research, independent and corporate based, will be directed at looking at the benefits of making the management level employees engaged. A lot of effort has been done at the employee level, or simply put, we bring everybody into one bucket. But as we know, though we are in one bucket, if one arm is not necessarily successful, everybody is not successful.